Welcome to the Synergy training session, open forum, and I will be doing the training today. And Maggie is assisting me. Okay, I think we can start. As you think of questions or work you might be doing and may have some doubts, what I will do is I will start with something that I thought of that I think is useful and sometimes not always obvious, especially if you are a relatively newer user, which is to talk about what things are hidden in the program and how to reveal them, and then what things are open and visible, but maybe you don't want to see them. And you might want to hide them either temporarily or permanently. So it's sort of like a hide and seek session this morning. Well, at least morning here. There's lots of different ways in which you can reveal and hide things in the program according to your preference. And that's part of how you can customize the program. Things that you do to either hide or reveal can stay like that. So the program will remember how you prefer certain things, and it will do them, like it will open the program the next time you're in it with those things either hidden or revealed. Not all of them, because some things are temporary, obviously. So let me, instead of alluding to different things, let me just show you specific things that can be hidden or revealed. So the first thing and the most obvious thing, so when you open the program, obviously it will open in your repertory module, which is the first icon at the top here. I'm going to assume that everyone has some basic knowledge of where things are in the program. So I'm not going to do a super introductory level chat. So it will open in the repertory program module, as everyone knows. And you will see all the repertories that you have in your library on the left-hand side. So obviously the most, first thing that you'll see is these plus signs. And in case you did not know, the plus signs can be clicked on to reveal what is buried in the hierarchy underneath. And so in that way, then you can access these chapters in the repertory from the left-hand side as well. And you don't need to have these icons or to be, navigating through those icons. You can do them from here. And then the same thing obviously applies to the books that are in your reference library, which is on the second icon here to the left. If you go into remedies, and you click on the plus sign, you can see the books that those remedies are in. So happen to be, let me go to Acon. And so you see, let's see here. So even a smaller remedy like this one, which I have no idea what that remedy is, of course, except that it's a variant of aconite. You can see that there are several books that remedy is in. So you can see that. And then if you click the plus sign on any of the books, it will show you the chapters that that material is available in. And of course, you can keep clicking on the plus signs till you get to a minus, which means there's no other buried material underneath this. So that's the first thing, is the plus sign. Let's go back here. The other thing that's obvious here in the repertory module are these little chevrons. And so let's say that you are used to, these are useful because let's say you almost always work in one repertory and you don't really use a wide selection of repertories. Then I find this becomes useful because what you can do is you can just hide this pane entirely. And so when you click on that, you can actually just see the one repertory that you use all the time. You can make that window smaller, and that means that you can move things around to be able to see them much better, or to layer them and lay them out here the way that you would like. I know a lot of people have a very fixed size and position in which they want to lay out their various windows. And this allows you to do that. It allows you to have more windows visible than just, let's say, one main window that you're working on, and all of the others are sort of behind it. This way you can layer them all out. The same thing you can do here. If I go to books, go to the top, you can definitely pin your favorite books at the top. And so then, anything that you're looking for or searches that you do will bring up those books first. But if you want to hide those, you can do the exact same thing here. Let's say you have multiple references open and you would rather give that material more room, you can do that. And then when you click on it, you get your book list back. And the same thing here. So you can see how much less visibility you have if you don't use the chevron. So the chevron allows you, to kind of create more space on your desktop within the program. So those are the two sort of small, obvious things. The other thing that you can do is if you are working in a window and you don't need it at the moment, you can definitely minimize it and put it at the bottom. And that's like a temporary way of hiding something, but still keeping your work saved, or there, instead of closing that window completely and then moving to the other window. So then when you come back and you click on here, your work will, unless you saved it in a clipboard and then save that to a chart, it will be gone. So let's say you're reading something, then you go back to the repertory, and you can just keep all that active and going, but hide it if you like by minimizing. And that's the minimizing. And then when you're done, if you X out of this window, then whatever you were doing in that moment is cleared out. So that's the third thing. Let's talk a little bit about things that are hidden more deeply. And so, for example, let's do remedies. So of course, these things are not hidden, but they're not going to be there right away. So you can add things to your view. You can customize your view, and then it will save it, obviously. You can turn your cross-references on. You can turn your author information on. You can turn your sub-rubrics on. You can just look at different grades, and not all of them. And of course, you can turn your remedies off and on. I generally have them off because then I can look at a lot more rubrics more quickly. But if you do like your remedies on, then you can turn them on. Now, you might have noticed that I opened this box from within the chapter. When you do that, the changes are temporary. And everything that you reveal here will only apply in the moment to this particular section of this particular repertory. They will not apply to the entire repertory module. So this is a temporary way of revealing or hiding information. If you would like to change things and have them apply all the time, then you have to come to the repertory module and choose this eye icon here, not inside a section, but in the module itself. And it's the exact same window with the exact same options. But when you do it here, it applies to the entire program. Or at least it applies to the entire repertory module. And when you do it from within the chapter, it's a temporary situation, only applies to the chapter of that repertory that you did it in. So let's do it here. And now you can look at the remedies. The other thing you can also find here is in various parts of the program, you can right click on information and there is a buried menu that will come up. Now, if you're using a PC, it's a right click. If you're using an Apple machine, then it's a control click. So you hold down the control key and then you click on your trackpad or with your mouse. So you will see that different remedies here. So specifically, I think in the reliable, you will see asterisks next to remedies. Those remedies have extra information buried inside. In the complete and some other repertories, I think definitely in the complete, it is everywhere. So I can just click on a remedy, and I'm talking about a control click or a right click. So when I do that, you can see the choices that come up. You can view the remedy in the reference library. So it will take you to abrotanum, which is what I clicked on in the reference library. You can view substance information. You can view the remedy on the internet. You can view the remedies family. You can copy the rubric. You can copy the rubric without remedies. Now, this is, of course, I have the 2019 open, but if I was to open the 23 and I did the same exact click on abrotanum, which I'm going to, you can also see the reference string authors. This is something that the Reliable did and always had, and Roger van Zandvoort, who publishes the complete repertory, added this information, I think, in 2022. So for the completes after, you can also see who added that remedy to that rubric and where that original reference comes from. So you can see that in any of the completes after 2022, and you can see that for all of the remedies that have an asterisk in the Reliable. And that has always been there. So view reference string. When you click that, you can see that that addition, I think that's Castorium, came from Herring's Guiding Symptoms. So these are some, this is like a buried menu here within the repertory module, which is not visible, but when you do a right click or a control click, you can do that. The other thing is on the left-hand side, you can do the exact same thing. So you can see I have the Reliable repertory with the Mind section open. I can, let's see, go back to the complete. And if I do a right click on the Mind section here, I get this buried menu, which is open in a new window. And I can, if I click that, you can see that I now have the Mind section of the 2019 complete, as well as the Mind section of the Reliable. And you can look at them side by side. You can be looking for a rubric, or you might be working, and let's say the Mind, I mean, let's say you're working on a case and you would like the different pathology sections of that case to be open simultaneously, so you don't have to keep going back and forth. And I often do that. So if, you know, if the person, generally you will have mind symptoms in most cases, at least most constitutional cases. And then for acute cases, depending on where the situation is, you can, you know, have multiple windows open. And this way now you can search for rubrics and you don't have to open chapters and then close them. So you can have multiple things open. So that is useful. And then of course you have the same possibility here in the reference library. And this of course is even more useful, I find, because you could either have multiple, and I'm just going to make this window bigger so I can show you. But let's say we're looking at, let's go to the more familiar aconitum. And I could be looking at at, Vermeulen's exposition on aconitum. And then if I wanted a more sensation write-up, I could have Dr. Shankaran's write-up, and then I could maybe even look at a reverse. And so let's do that. We could go to the complete reversed if you just wanted to look at the rubrics. And so all you have to do is do a right click and say open in a new window, and you can then have, different tabs open, either in different chapters from a repertory or different writers in the reference library, or compare two remedies. And so that's one of the buried menus here. If we go from here, so yeah.
Can I interrupt you, Roopali? While you're still there in the reference library, can you show how you pin certain books to the top?
Yes, of course. So while we're here, so you can, let's say, you want to come back just to something. You're reading through either for work or for school or whatever. So you can see here, so the first icon is, of course, the view settings. And then the second one here, you can see says add view bookmarks. So you're going to, so I'm currently on the Vermeulen write-up for aconite, and I'm going to click on this. And you can see that right now it says add. You can choose if you have a preference for color. There's 5 colors here. I generally tend to use the latter 3 because they show up on the blue better than the first 2. So let's say I choose my yellow bookmark and I say add. When I click on OK, you can see that you get a little bookmark here, just like if you're used to reading on Kindle, for example, you get a little bookmark on the page. So you get a bookmark. And then, maybe you like this write-up as well, and you want to go here. I'm going to click on the bookmark color I like, say it's already on add, say add. So you can see now that these are both bookmarked. And let's say I finish, in fact, don't have to close the tabs. Let's say I just close the whole thing. Of course, when I go back, the work I was doing is gone, because every time you X out of a window, the work that you were doing is cleared out. And the next time you open the window, it's going to be a fresh window. But you want to go back now to the 2 write-ups you had bookmarked. You're going to come back here. And then instead of add, you're going to say view. So you can see, of course, I have a lot of other things saved, but you can also choose a color for each session. And so I know that the last session that I was doing, I saved them as yellow bookmarks. And you can see, the last work, so the latest bookmarks, the most recent in time, will be at the bottom of the list. But there are others from, different training sessions or actually work I might have been doing. And it will open whichever ones you want. So if we want the last 2 that we did on aconite, and you can even read, so, it seems truncated here, but there is a sliding bar. So you can see the ones, and these are the 2 on aconite. So I'm going to click on those and say, okay. And it's now opened those 2 bookmarks and the material that you were looking at earlier that you wanted saved. So, okay, so
And
now.
That bookmark then, Roopali.
Sorry?
To delete the bookmark.
Yeah. And so to delete the bookmark, you're going to go back here again, and you're going to say select all, and then you're going to just delete them. And they're now all gone. You can see that the bookmark symbol went away as well. And if I go back and then I reload the window and I go back in here, there's nothing. I mean, if you say view, there's no bookmark saved. It tells you that, and it clears your history out, but it will leave it there for as long as you want it. And it, even if you close the program and you reopen it, a month later, those bookmarks will still be there. Okay. Any other questions, Maggie?
Can you go to the books in your reference library and pin different books to the top, or show how to pin books?
Yeah, we can do that. So let me here. Okay, we go to books and you can see that I had 5 books pinned. I don't have this anymore. This was the reverse that I was using because I subsequently deleted it. So I would have to re-download it. And this is not, this is something that I owned. And so this is not obviously a current reverse. So this is something I would have to download. So what I'm going to show you is how to pin your favorite books at the top. You get to pin up to 5 books. And the way to do that is to come to user preferences. Here we go. And then since we are pinning books and not repertories, you can also pin your favorite 5 repertories to the top. We're doing books at the moment, but the process is the same, whether you do repertories or books. So we come to reference library settings, and you can see the 5 books that I've pinned. All you have to do if you are doing this for the first time is that you will have a default book there if you've never pinned anything. This open box needs to have 1 book in there, and that's whatever is the default first, and that will be the first book in your program. Generally, because it's alphabetical, if you haven't pinned anything, it will be one of the books that start with A. I forget now because I've been pinning books for so long. And so what you have to do is you cannot just, I think you cannot, you used to not be, yeah, I guess you can. You just X out of everything. And if you've never pinned before, then you X out of whatever default is there. When you click in the blank box, your list of books is going to come up. And instead of scrolling, all you can do is type the first few letters of the book that you're looking for. So let's say, well, I had a couple of Vermeulens in there, so I'm going to just type VER. It does search the whole name of the book, so you don't have to actually, so you can see when I type VER, it brings up all of the liver books as well, and fever, because of the VER. So I think earlier you had to, type ALL to bring up Allen's fever. But now you can type any 3 consecutive letters that are in the name of the book. So since I don't want to have to deal with all the livers and the fevers, I'm going to go with the next, and this will bring me to Vermeulen. And I can choose a book. When I click it, it goes up there in the box. And then again, for the next book, I will just type. Generally, if you want to bring up a specific name, and it's best to type more than 2 or 3 letters, because then it, SA there might be a ton of essays in the names of various books in the reference library. So just type more than 2 or 3. And this brings me to Shankaran. I'm just going to pick one. And then if you want reversed, for example, which I tend to use. So let's see if that brings it up. No. So then I think we would have to say.
It might be just REV, is it? Yeah, it's not river. They don't.
It's just REV, yeah.
Complete.
Here. So if I type REV, well, we get a bunch of reviews as well. But all of your reverse repertories will also come up. And then, of course, anything else that has reverse, but you'll still see all your reversed, bunch of journals. But here are all your reverse. If you have a specific reverse that you like to work with, just type the name of that instead of typing REV. But yes, so you can keep doing that. And then when you're done, you have to click on save. The save is not always visible. If you have your cursor in there, you're still going to see the list of books. So you're not going to know that there is a save button at the back. So make sure you click out when you're done and you'll see the save button. And then when you click on save, it will reload your program. So earlier, I mean, I don't even remember now, but we would always counsel everyone to save your clipboards every time you go into user preferences and change anything in user preferences. It reloads the program with your new preference. So we would always say save all your work before you go into user preferences and change anything. But now, of course, you have the pop-up. I would still say if you've done a lot of work and it's not saved, just save it. The pop-up comes, I have never had a reload when the pop-up doesn't come if I had unsaved work, but I would still, if I had done 2 hours worth of work, I would still save it before changing any user preferences. So of course I did not save my clipboard and I do want to restore it. So I will say yes, and my clipboard thankfully is there. And I will go to my reference library and go to books. And you can see that the 2 books I chose are up there at the top. If I look for Fear Within Forwards of Dark in the same remedy as, I'm just typing a search, random search. And when I hit that, okay, so this will, okay, so this will come up, but in the repertory. So let's say I have, let me show it this way. If I run that search, and I will show you my repertories. So you can see that the 5 repertories I have pinned at the top are 2 completes, Suggesta, and a cute one, and are reliable. Those are my 5 top repertories. When I do a search in repertories, oh, sorry. When I do a repertory search, you can see that the results will come, the top 5 results from the top 5 repertories will be your pinned repertories. When you actually, let's see, let's pick Calicarb. When you ask from one of your searches, wherever it is, either a reference library search or a repertory search, when you ask or you're interested in reading more about a remedy and you say view remedy in reference library, when it does that, okay, I'm not sure why it did that. So let's go here. And I'm trying to pick a remedy that will have a write-up in mollusks. And so let's do calc. Okay, so view remedy in reference library. When you do that, you can see that the books that you pinned are going to come up top. We didn't pin all 5, but assuming that the 5 that we pinned had results for calc, then you would see those 5 up top first, and then the other list of your books in your reference library. So that is also an advantage, not just having easy access to the books you like, but also every time you pull a search or you want to read more about a remedy, your top 5 books will come up first for that remedy. Well, your top 5 books, if they have a write-up for that remedy, will come up at the top. Okay, so any other questions?
Yes, Blair is asking, can we cut and paste from Microsoft Word into SHS and back and forth? Still trying to share old notes with SHS.
Okay, so yes, you can. And there are some caveats though. You cannot copy and paste from SHS into Word if the author has forbidden that kind of functionality. So if they're trying to protect their copyright, and there are many authors who would not like even a single sentence copied, then that has been executed within the program, and that author is not copy and pastable. This usually applies to references more than repertories, but in the case of repertories, it does apply to the complete. So you couldn't, for example, go into one of the sections of the complete and then copy all of the rubrics and paste them into a Word document. Roger wouldn't like it. He does not want that to happen. But there are, of course, there are older materials which don't have copyright anymore. And so you could certainly be in Allen, for example, and you could take what he says, and I'm going to show you. Let me change my share to the desktop so I can show you. So I'm going to,
when you've done it in that direction, will you look at it in the other direction as
I
well?
will.
Actually
Yeah.
about copying from
Yeah,
our office.
yeah, I will. Okay, that's okay, so I don't. Okay, so let me minimize that. And I also think that I have two desktop, oh, here. Okay, so there we go. Put this here, bring this up top and make this a little bit smaller. So now you should be able to see my Synergy program as well as an open document in Word. And this is one of those moments when the chevron is handy. So I can just come up here. I just selected it by using my trackpad. I have two options. I can either use my keyboard commands to copy, or I can also just do a right click and it will give you that option to copy text. And you will get a little message that says text copied. And I'm coming here and I'm just going to do a Command V or a Control V if you have a PC. And it will copy that material for you. You could, let's say these are case notes. Let's just pretend that these are case notes. You could definitely take this, and I'm going to do Command C to copy. And then the only way you would want to paste that material back in the program is if you were putting it in a patient chart. From your verbatim notes about a patient, for example. And you could come up here, and I'm again going to do a right click or a control click, and I get that option, and you can see that you can paste that material back. So assuming that you took notes in Word when you were with a patient, you can come and then copy and paste those into your patient chart in Synergy. That's one way that you can do that. The other thing that a lot of people generally use it for, in addition to patient notes, is to come here and, take your analysis and rubrics and maybe put them either into your Word patient chart, or if you're a student and you're doing homework or you have other things, you're writing up a case as an article for a paper or whatever, right? Then you might want to copy and paste your rubrics. We just have the 2, but obviously it will work if you had 10. I just used Shift and then selected the last rubric, and then I'm going to, let's do a Command C. You still get the same message that says rubric copied. And I'm going to come back here and I'm going to do a Command V. You can see that the rubric's pasted. I don't, as I said, I never have my remedies turned on, especially not in my clipboard, because obviously then, depending on the size of the rubric, that's going to get taken up just by the one rubric. So I don't turn those on. And so, of course, that's why it pastes just as it is. But if you had your rubrics, your remedies turned on, then you would get to see the remedies as well. All I have is the remedy count turned on. The other thing, of course, that you can do is I'm going to now take, let's say these rubrics are from last month, and for some reason I need them again. You can definitely do a Command C. So I just did a Command C or a Control C and pretend that now, oops. There's a new clipboard. I'm back here. I say paste. And your rubrics will paste exactly as you have them in Word. Now, mind you, those rubrics are written in Word exactly as they are in the repertory itself within the program. I did not mess with a little space here, and I did not get rid of the dash. I didn't mess with any of the formatting and spacing of the rubric. If that is the case, and if those rubrics were originally exported from within the program and you import them back, let's say into another case or another patient or another clipboard, they will paste back exactly, and they will bring up that same exact information. But if I was to, accidentally or intentionally change the rubric in some way, in the way that the computer would recognize that rubric as a rubric from the reliable or the complete, then it will paste back, but it might not bring the data up because I changed the rubric. In the way that the computer recognizes the rubric. So,
and Roopali, can you copy and paste graphs?
So for graphs, let me maximize here. Okay. So for graphs, actually, you can download, you can do a bunch of different things. If you don't care, if you just want like in the moment, you want this, I would just take a screenshot. And then from that screenshot, you can copy and paste it into your Word document. The other thing you can do is you can save it as a PDF, like as its own file, or a JPEG. And so when you do that, and this is so you choose your format and then you say download the graph, you can save it as a file that you can then copy and paste from. At the moment, Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that you can actually just copy and paste from this image.
Well, it's like you're saying, take a screenshot. That's on Mac. On Windows, I would use the snip tool to take the image. And in the PDF and the JPEG, if you wanted to get more of your graph, I would zoom out.
Okay. Yes, you could zoom out, and or you could have, adjust your window to have more remedies visible. Or as Maggie says, zoom out and then make this even bigger. And then, of course, you would have as much of your remedies or repertorization showing as you wanted. So could do that. And there are different screenshot tools and little apps. I have a little app up here that's called XSnip, which is similar to Snip that Maggie mentioned, and that allows you to take a screenshot and then edit or add text or arrows or whatever you want. So there's different ways to do that, but you can't just kind of do a select like this and then copy and paste. You can't do that.
And Roopali, I see you have the number graph turned on, which is good for putting into a Word document because it means you don't have to print in color if you want to see.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I always have that turned on. I don't change the colors on my graph, which you can. These colors are the default colors, and they came from one of the parent programs I guess, Mac repertory. And so these are the default colors of the repertorization graph from that program. And I sort of have them memorized, so I don't need the numbers, but somehow I have the numbers turned on. So
I want to show where you turn on the numbers there.
yeah. So you can see here it says number graph, little chevron, and you can choose different graphs. So the waffle graph is the one that just has the squares with no numbers. And then you have the number graph. There are a couple other graphs, but they don't really make as much sense, I feel. When you're looking at a repertorization, you really do want to see some kind of a waffle. So yeah, you can customize that over here. Any other questions?
Yeah, we have a question here asking, could you please find the rubric ADHD?
Sure. So we can, this is my go-to place. This is the search bar. We can type ADHD here and see what comes up. So you can see the program doesn't recognize that as a word. And if it doesn't recognize something as a word that it knows, or if it thinks that you have mistyped, if there's a spelling error, it turns the search query red. I'm still going to hit enter. And you can see that I do have some results just using that word. And you can do the same thing. Obviously, Roger has included that in his, clinical chapter. So has Massimo. And those are the different versions of, older versions. And so you can see that both Massimo and Roger have that as a clinical condition, and you can look it up. I'm assuming in as old a repertory as the 2017. So he brought that. I don't think I have my 2005 in here. So I don't think it was such a thing back in 2005, so probably doesn't have it. But at least in the 2017, which is the oldest complete that I have in the program, this is a condition. We can also look at what it brings up. And obviously in the reference library, it's not able to search this or find this in any of my references. So that's one way to look it up. And the other way is, of course, to look up the rubrics that would explain the symptoms of ADHD. So, mind absorbed, or just, abstraction of mind, or hyperactivity, restlessness, so all of the different symptoms that you would observe for somebody who had been medically diagnosed as ADHD would be the more homeopathic way to go about it, I would say, than to put in the clinical condition. But you can also put in the clinical condition. Obviously, there's, tons of information. Massimo has 42 remedies, so it's definitely useful. What else?
We don't have any more questions at the moment.
Okay. So I was going to actually also show you one of, to go back to my sort of original theme for the session today, which was the buried menus and the hidden menus as well. You can also go into your clipboard and select one of your rubrics and do a right click, and it gives you certain options. Now, all of these things, of course, you can also do separately, differently, other than view rubric in repertory. So if you select that, then it will take you to the rubric in the repertory, and you're able to look at other rubrics beside it, above and below, etc. And if there are any sub rubrics, so you can do that kind of search. You can click on multiple rubrics, and when you do the right click, it will allow you to make a group, which you can also do from this icon here. You can copy the rubric, and of course, if you've copied a rubric and you do a right click, it will allow you to paste the rubric from one clipboard to another. And then you can delete the rubric, which you can also do straight from your keyboard. And then you can grade the rubric, which you can also do straight from your keyboard by using the number keys. So this is another buried menu here, which is useful. And let's see, I think those are, there's one other thing, and we can talk about that. It's a little bit more of I mean, it's not an advanced feature. It's a user preferences. So let's go to repertories. And so we talked a little bit about using just one repertory most of the time, and then using the chevron to, hide all the others. We also talked about pinning your favorite 5 repertories at the top, so then you always have access and you don't need to bother about the others. But there are several repertories here, well, a handful, let's say, that I have never opened. I mean, I have intentionally never opened a few repertories here. So you wonder, well, why do I need, almost 2 screens worth of information? And maybe I can either get rid of the ones I don't want and will never use, or at least hide it. And so that's useful. If you delete the repertory, which you can delete repertories you don't want. That means when you type a search in here, like we just did, the results that come up will not have that repertory result. And that repertory is deleted completely from your database unless you come back to tech support and say, oh, I changed my mind, I want that repertory back. It's gone completely, which is fine. Nobody, I don't know if we all need 20, 30 repertories. So that could be okay. The other thing you can do is, I just don't want to see that many repertories. I want to see only 10, but I don't want to lose the others, because when I type in a search, there might be some useful results that come from the other 20 that I have temporarily hidden, and I can unhide if I want. So the way to do that is to go back into user preferences and go to repertory settings. You can see my pinned repertories here. You see, when you go to delete repertory from system, you can delete all the repertories that you see but don't want. If you go to show hide repertory from system, you can hide the repertories you don't want to see, but your search results will still search those repertories because you're not deleting them from your database. And if you change your mind, or if you want to browse a repertory, you can come back in here and show that repertory again to yourself. So reveal it. And so this is, so far I was showing you all the things that are hidden and how to reveal them. And here you can see all your repertories, but you can hide them or get rid of them. So I don't want to really delete anything for the moment, but I can click on it and show you. So this is now a list of all the repertories in my program. And I can go back, I can go in here and say, oh, I don't want X, Y, and Z, click on them and click delete. And it will take some time. So you have to let the program run, because these are huge files most of the time. And it takes time to delete them completely from the database. So don't do multiple repertories at a time. If you're deleting them, do one repertory at a time. Otherwise, it will just consume your program trying to delete all of them, and then you won't have access to the program, because you can't, while it's deleting, you can't do your other work. So make sure you only do one at a time. And then if you just want to hide them temporarily, you come here and the exact same pop-up box comes. This is a list of all the repertories I have. And so let's say, let me just take the top 3, and I'm going to say hide them. This is hide. And so I'll say save. And so obviously now it's going to reload the program. Let's bring back our clipboards. And if we go now to the repertories, so from my top 5, if somebody remembers, I had the acute, that's gone. And basically all of my 3A repertories, starting with A, are gone. So, because I hid them and they're now not visible. But if I change my mind, I can go back to user preferences, go to repertory settings, say show hide, and it will show me the ones that were hidden. And now, of course, I don't want to hide them anymore. And I'm going to say save. Yes. And then you can see that they're back. Or at least here's acute, here's Allen, and here's the Bach mind. So this is another nice little feature if you want to clean up your repertory module and, just hide the ones you don't want or delete the ones you don't want, for sure. So I think those are all the sort of more useful, obviously hidden or revealed things in the program that you can change and customize to your preference. Are there any more questions, Maggie?
No, Roopali?
Okay. Going to say yes. Okay. So I think we can stop. We're about 7 minutes before the hour. And I thank you all for coming. I hope you're enjoying the program. If you have any doubts or any places that you're stuck at, do not hesitate to write to us. Me, Roopali at synergyhomeopathic.com or Lucy at synergyhomeopathic.com, and we'll be happy to answer you. You're also able to set up one-on-one sessions with either of us. Thank you, and I'll say goodbye for now.